Jay, who is calling in. What's going on, Jay?
Hi. So, by the way, just for Jen, my heart kind of sunk when she talked. So I hope she goes and finds some help. That'd be beneficial.
I hope so too. And that's very nice of you to say, Jay. Thanks for the kind words.
So my topic is, I don't know how to word this because it's something I've been thinking about a lot, is atheists and their political leanings.
Okay.
Have you noticed, and maybe there's no studies that I've been able to find or any research or anything on this, so this is all just personal experiences. But have you ever noticed which way atheists lean?
Yeah, atheists are all hardcore fascist right-wing guys. I notice. They all tend to be super conservative. Kind of socially, fiscally conservative. I think. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's a correlation there for sure, right? And it's not just anecdote. They have done research on this. I believe it's Pew Research has shown that. The Pew Research Institute, who does a lot of studies on religious beliefs and the social impacts and stuff like that. They've shown that atheists, by and large, are more left leaning, and sometimes even more left leaning than the average American. So yeah, your anecdote is kind of correct in this sense. They've done studies on that for sure.
Oh, I'll have to look that up on Pew Research then. Because that's kind of where I've been noticing it as well. I'm relatively new atheist. I mean, it's been about 5 years, so I don't know how. I still consider that new considering my age. But yeah, so I'm kind of leaning more towards atheists move. They used to be conservative when they're religious, or they're conservative leaning anyway. And then when they become atheists, it seems that they switch over to liberal. Is that the thing?
Yeah, and that happened to me. I would have called myself probably more centrist, maybe center right, because I definitely had some stuff that was different from my peers. Like I posted a picture on my Twitter the other day of my T-shirt when I was in the high school Republicans club. At my high school. But I still definitely I was still totally chill with abortion, and I had beliefs that probably my friends did not have. But I would definitely lean more socially conservative on stuff. I was not a supporter of gay rights. That was not in my conscience, and so stuff that I've totally flipped on. And looking back on my own experience, I do contemplate this, Jay. I'm like, which came first, right? Did my politics change before my religious views, or was it a kind of a one and done deal? And it's really hard to say. I don't know, because looking back, it feels like they were both changing at the same time. It doesn't feel like one happened before the other. There may have been steps in one direction before it happened in another direction, but by and large, it was kind of shifting at the same time. I'd say that I became a liberal Christian first before I became a liberal atheist. But the deconstruction of my political beliefs was happening at the same time as the deconstruction of my religious beliefs. So it's kind of hard to say. But yeah, if you grow up in a culture that doesn't really encourage the examination of your beliefs or why you should believe the things that you do, then yeah, the dam kind of gets busted, and everything kind of changes all at once. It's hard to just change one thing without changing a whole bunch of other stuff. So, Desh, I don't know what your experience with this has been like as far as changes with religious and political beliefs, but maybe you can relate.
Yeah, well,
I can't.
Go
ahead.
For me personally, I think because of my migrant experience, I think my ideals were liberal to start off with, and the religion I was born into was Buddhism, and then my journey did take me to change my religion. I became a born-again Christian, but I think it was still a very liberal version of it. So my personal experience doesn't lend to anything sort of center right even, but over time, as I eventually became an atheist, it just sort of strengthens my position It's more of a center-left liberal position, more classical liberal position, which has gotten better with knowledge that I have access to, and that bit of knowledge came after I became an atheist, because I was more interested in reading about philosophy and science, which wasn't the case before.
Yeah. So go ahead, Jay.
Sorry. Yeah. This leads me to my next question that has really been weighing on my mind for quite a while, and most of the people I talk to pigeonhole me, because if you look at me, I'm large, I've got a beard, I've got a big truck, and so people put me in the conservative category, which I'm not. I mean, close, right? And so the people I try to talk to just stick me in that hole, and then I don't get to have the discussion. My philosophy, and again, anecdote here, right, is that a lot of atheists that I've talked to have switched from believing in a God to believing in government as being the solution to their problem. I don't know if that's actual reality or if it's just my personal perception, but that's kind of what I'm noticing. And when, I don't remember your name, but when you said classical liberal, can you define that a little bit more for me?
Well, what I mean by classical liberal is right now the political landscape pretty much globally has shifted a little bit. The certain beliefs or universal human rights that I hold are now somewhat moved more to the center and more to an area that it should have been pretty much on the left. But now the political certain ideologies from the left has, it's gone through that horseshoe, and there are certain very close to fascist kind of beliefs of suppression of free speech, policing thoughts. Those things are now appearing in certain circles of the left. So when I say classical liberalism, it is pretty much for Americans, it's the forefathers, the people who came up with the American Constitution, what they believed in, individual human liberties. That's what I mean by classical liberalism. With regards to conservatives, and again, in the American context, this is a bit different, because I don't necessarily think an American conservative is a Republican. There are conservatives who are majority of conservatives. A classical conservative would be an independent these days, because right now, if you're going to identify as a Republican under the Trump era, it is a very different thing. It has a different set of meanings towards what a conservative is. I hope that answers your question, Jay.
Yeah, and so I want to answer your first question, Jay, which was this idea that atheists are replacing God with government.
Oh yeah.
It's hard for me to examine that, because when I hear something like that, that speaks more to me as rhetoric than something I can say as concrete. I will try to frame it like this. I will say that people who maybe grew up religious and became atheists, they did have a trust in the institution of God, and that the teachings that surrounded that were kind of their authority. And so since they are not using that as an authority anymore, they may see experts in particular fields or experts in government positions as more of an authority than they might have previously given credence to. So maybe that's kind of an explanation of why a perception like that might exist. But I'm just trying to parse that out outside of what could be clipped as a sound bite,
Yeah, I definitely don't mean it to be rhetoric at all. It's just something I've been thinking about, trying to just figure out what actual reality is. I mean,
sure, which is a noble goal.
So, yeah. So I'm trying to figure that out. It just seems that in watching other shows, yours and the other ones that the atheist community does, especially from Austin, I noticed some patterns that I don't know if they're real or if they're just conceived in my brain or what. And so I'm trying to figure that out. Do they really believe that government should do these things in order to make people be the way they want them to be? Or are they just saying certain words together, not knowing that that's the way it's coming off to, well, at least to me?
Well, without having the time to look at individual policy positions, I can't tell you either way on that. I will say your initial observation that atheists tend to be more left leaning. I mean, as far as the science is out, like that seems to be totally correct. So good on you for having some good intuitions there. Really, it's not intuitions; it's your own experiences kind of informing you and your beliefs. But like, yeah, that seems to be something to be verified. So. I do want to get to one more call here before the end of the show. So I'm going to let you go here now, Jay. But thanks for calling in and talking about